Hello all, this month's training will be a 6-part video series on auto extrication. In these videos, we'll lay the groundwork for safe and effective operational use of our tools.
So as we all know, every wreck is going to be different. We can't apply a single technique to every single wreck. We're going to have to be able to be fluid and adapt with each wreck. So that's why it's important that we have a very solid baseline foundational skill set. That way when we get on these wrecks, we can easily adapt for each one.
What this course will do is reinforce some of those techniques, and as the auto industry evolves, as the technology that they're putting into these cars evolves, we're going to be able to easily evolve our techniques and better keep up with the industry.
In this month's 6-part video series, the videos are going to include tool checkout, walk up, stabilizing and taking the glass, airbags, hood and de-energizing the vehicle, taking the windshield, roof and doors. Then we'll move on to dash displacements, and in the end we'll put it all together and talk about crew member responsibilities. In order to perform well on scene, we need to be familiar with our tools, and we also need to know that they're in good working order. So part 1 of this video series is going to cover tool checkout and maintenance.
Today we're going to go over how to maintain your Hamatro tools. You'll need a few things to do that. A bucket, soap and water, some WD-40, 27mm socket wrench, and one broken toothbrush. Obviously you're going to need your tools and your hose. All right, first thing we're going to do is check the fuel levels. All right, now we're going to check the hydraulic fluid. Next, we're going to check the condition of the starter cord, making sure that you don't have any tears, abrasions, that it's still attached to your handle pretty good. And now the engine oil. Next, we're going to check and lubricate the dust caps. Look inside, make sure that there isn't anything lodged in there. Clean them with the WD-40. All right, so when you're maintaining the couplings on your hose here, you can just get your soapy water and a small brush. You're just gonna brush away any debris that might be on there, as well as use your soap and water, and you can clean that coupling up pretty good. Now we're going to check and make sure that the tool and all the connectors are working okay. So Kurt's going to connect the hose to the pump and to the tool. All right, so now we're going to check out the hose. We're going to look for any cuts or kinks or damage to the exterior jacket, and you're really looking for anything greater than 1 millimeter. And if you've got that, it would be cause to probably pull that hose out of service, or at least have it looked at. All right, so one thing to check is your locking ring on your power plant. One way you can do that is when you attach a hose, just give that hose a little bit of a tug, and if it seats and is in there correctly, it won't come out. All right, this is a good opportunity to check to make sure that our back nut is tight, and so this is when we'll use our 27mm socket. All right, now we're going to start the pump. All right, now we're going to check out the tools to make sure that they're operating correctly. First thing you do is you just want to make sure that everything's kind of in place. The handles are secure, none of the connections are leaking, and then you'll operate the tool, making sure that the blades are moving correctly. When it opens, it does so smoothly and there's no jumps or hiccups. He's also checking to make sure that the dead man handle snaps back to neutral whenever he lets go. When he's storing this tool, he's going to make sure that the tips are just touching. All right, for the spreaders, it's going to be the same thing. He's going to check to make sure that the handle's connected, that it's secure on there. He's going to check the tips, make sure that those are in place, seated correctly, not damaged, and then he's going to operate it, make sure that when the spreaders are opening and closing, they're doing so smoothly. He'll also check the dead man handle, make sure that it's going back to, or snapping back to neutral.
Whenever he lets go.
When he stores this tool, he doesn't want to store it under pressure. So you want to make sure that you leave just a little bit of an air gap in there. All right, guys, so if you're trying to connect your hose to the power plant and it's you're not able to make that fitting or that connection, you might have to bleed off the pressure. There's times when there's so much pressure in the hose that it will actually not allow you to compress that fitting on the inside. If you need to do that, you can use your bleeder cap, which is going to be located right here on the bottom. To apply that cap, you're going to slide it onto the coupling, and then you're going to spin the top to compress it. When you do so, it'll actually release a little bit of hydraulic fluid. You want to be careful when you're doing this to make sure that when you're doing this that the opening is away from your face in case that comes out of there with any sort of pressure.
And here we have our Sawzall. This is a often forgot about tool for our auto extrication. Works great in cutting posts. So we have our battery. This should be checked daily. For those cars, especially the higher end models, there's a boron tube that runs up the A post. You must use a carbide tube blade. That carbide tip that will cut through the boron tubes.
In our next video, we're going to be covering the walk up and size up, stabilizing our vehicle, and taking the glass.